At least 150 people have been arrested in France after a second night of unrest, triggered by the shooting of a 17-year-old delivery driver by police.
Mutiny in Russia. EU leaders consider it an internal affair.
A second night of unrest in Paris after the fatal shooting of a 17-year-old boy by the police. Fires could be seen burning at some intersections as thousands of security forces were deployed to the suburb of Nanterre. The government even heightened police presence across other cities. The teenager named Nael was shot at point-blank range as he drove off during a police traffic check. The incident has reignited debate about police brutality in France amid long-standing criticism about the heavy-handed treatment of people in low-income suburbs, particularly ethnic minorities. Politicians from all parties have condemned the shooting. MPs in the National Assembly held a minute's silence while Prime Minister Elizabeth Bourne criticized the officer's decision to open fire.
Je veux ici dire l'émotion de la nation tout entière après ce qui est arrivé et la mort du jeune Naël, et dire à sa famille toute notre solidarité et l'affection de la nation. Nous avons un adolescent qui a été tué, c'est inexplicable.
Anger has spread to other cities, including Toulouse and Lille. France's government is haunted by the prospect of a repeat of the 2005 riots sparked by the death of 2 black boys during a police chase. It resulted in around 10,000 cars being burned and 6,000 people being arrested.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has made his first public visit since the mutiny by Wagner troops. He flew to the southern region of Dagestan to discuss domestic tourism, implying business as usual. But Western leaders are not so convinced. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz claims Putin has been weakened by the mercenary group's revolt, and there are real dangers now that Wagner fighters have been welcomed by Belarus.
Und das haben die ukrainischen Bürgerinnen und Bürger gemerkt mit dem furchtbaren Einsatz dieser Truppen in dem Krieg Russlands gegen die Ukraine. Und was jetzt klar geworden ist, Privatarmeen sind immer bedrohlich, auch für die Staaten, die sie sich halten. Das hat Russland jetzt gespürt.
One person who was in the sights of the Wagner group at the weekend was Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Western officials claim Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin planned to kidnap Shoigu and other heads of the Russian military. Wagner has many operational spheres. Evidence of a planned information attack against the government of Lithuania has been discovered in documents found in raids on the group's office in St. Petersburg.
Three weeks after the destruction of Ukraine's Kakhovka Dam, life remains a misery for people in the Kherson region. The massive flood caused a humanitarian and environmental disaster. Some of the thousands forced from their homes have returned, but they have no electricity or tap water.
Мы пока душ не работает, света нету. Мы греем воду и обмываемся. А что остается делать? Электричество, говорят, не скоро будет, потому что вот с этой недели начнут только делать.
The Pope's envoy to Ukraine has seen the hardship for himself. The Vatican representative has opened a canteen in Kherson city and helped distribute water and medicines, bringing some respite to local people.
To, co nie zniszczyło bombardowanie, potem Rosjanie wywieźli wszystko, co mogli także z domów prywatnych, to teraz zniszczyła woda po wysadzeniu tamy.
The dam was destroyed in what Ukraine and the West claim was an act of sabotage on June the 6th. Ukrainian authorities estimate some 10,000 hectares of agricultural land remain underwater. The consequences will last for decades.
Leaders from the 27 EU member states have come together in Brussels for a 2-day summit with a busy agenda on the table. They focus primarily on the consequences of last weekend's failed uprising in Russia. The European Union considers the action led by the Wagner group to be an internal Russian affair.
Das bedroht eben auch die Stabilität dann zum Beispiel eines Landes wie Russland. Auch das haben wir gesehen. Wir haben das sehr genau beobachtet und uns, als die Ereignisse sich überschlugen, miteinander beraten. Klar war für uns immer, dass wir das nur beobachten können. Das ist etwas, das in Russland stattfindet, das nichts zu tun hat mit dem Handeln irgendeines anderen Staates.
The leaders pledged to continue supporting Ukraine in its fight against the Russian invading army, which could include pledging further military aid. Last week, the EU already decided to increase the so-called European Peace Facility by 3.5 billion euros. However, as this may not be enough in the long run, the European Commission is looking at how frozen Russian assets could be used to finance Ukraine.
This showed deep cracks in Putin's system. This mutiny of last weekend will also have aftershocks that we will see. The more it is important that we double down on the support for Ukraine, be it military capability or financial support, very important to be here consistent.
Another important topic at the summit is migration. Following the shipwreck on the Greek coast that killed hundreds of people, a group of EU countries is pushing for a discussion of a new approach in which only those eligible for asylum could enter the EU. This would mean that asylum applications would be processed virtually outside Europe.
We cannot continue a situation where people without permits simply travel through Europe and to countries and live under circumstances that are not acceptable. So this is one of the converging, I would say, views in Europe right now, that we simply have to do something about that.
Economic issues and relations with China are to be on the summit agenda on Friday.
Alexis Tsipras, the leader of Greece's left-wing opposition, has resigned following his party's crushing defeat in Sunday's general election. His Syriza party won just 18% of the vote amid a surge in support for the governing New Democracy Party, which claimed around 40% of the ballot. Tsipras served as Prime Minister from 2015 to 2019 during the height of Greece's financial crisis, in which the country endured severe cutbacks as part of an international bailout programme.
Space-time is being warped by huge gravitational waves rolling through the universe. That's according to the latest research. Scientists believe waves are generated when enormous black holes merge. Now, astronomers have found signs of super slow gravitational waves distorting space-time as they roll through.
So it's going to be very important in our understanding of the evolution of supermassive black holes. And as I said, this is just a detection. In the future, we'll have much more information. So we'll learn much more about the spectrum of supermassive black hole masses. We'll learn about the rates at which different supermassive black holes are merging. We'll learn about the distribution of supermassive black holes throughout the universe.
The low-frequency gravitational pulses, which have been described as a cosmic bass note, were discovered by researchers at the Nanohertz Observatory for Gravitational Waves. Their existence was first postulated by Albert Einstein.
The US Coast Guard says what is thought to be human remains has been found from the wreckage of the doomed submersible Titan. Debris from the ocean floor has been brought back to land. A white panel-like piece and another part draped with cords and wires were taken off the recovery boat. It's nearly a week after authorities announced a catastrophic implosion had killed all 5 men on board the vessel, which had dived to observe the wreck of the Titanic.
Catalonia's government has ordered municipal councils to end a de facto ban on women going topless at public swimming pools. Many had prohibited topless bathing, burkinis and breastfeeding, despite the practice being protected by a regional equality law.
Pero irían topless, claro que sí, y muchas veces me han dicho, no, tápate, y en piscinas también de comunitarias y así.
Es algo normal. Lo único que sí que verá que hay gente que lo ve como algo, no sé, como obsceno o algo, pero es que tienes que darle de comer a tu hijo.
Al final cada uno puede tener la libertad de mostrarse como quiera y yo creo que está bien. Igual que en la playa está muy normalizado, en las piscinas también.
Swimwear bans remain a contentious issue elsewhere in Europe. In France, dozens of holiday towns have sought to ban burkinis. Last year, the country's highest legal body upheld a ban on the garment at public pools.
The Queen of Pop is expected to make a full recovery after developing a serious bacterial infection. Madonna's family has revealed they feared they would lose her after she was rushed into intensive care. The 64-year-old singer was reportedly found unconscious in New York on Saturday. She has been forced to postpone her celebration tour. The global, nearly sold-out tour was billed as paying homage to Madonna's more than 4-decade-long career on the 40th anniversary of her breakout single, Holiday.
A climate activist has been carried off the Lord's cricket ground in London by England cricket keeper Johnny Bairstow. Just Stop Oil protesters briefly interrupted the second Ashes test between England and Australia. They scattered orange powder on the ground before unceremoniously being removed from the field. The group has accused Lord's cricket ground of trying to promote a clean image while being sponsored by JP Morgan, which they call the world's worst fossil fuel bank.